Today's video is all about Avantis, global markets, limitless leverage, built on and backed by Base. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunity, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including these live streams, the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Obviously, guys, we're here to look for opportunity. And the question is Avantis the opportunity? You know, we like doing deep dives because we want to know about the tech. We want to know about the fundamentals. We want to know about all the little details that make us bullish. Should we be buying this? Should we be accumulating? And, you know, of course, I do these deep dives from a retail perspective. Guys, I want to make sure that the retail perspective is full force. Ultimately, we can see the need to have retail mass adoption. You know, in order to see projects succeed, where we can get fresh capital, where we can see a mass adoption, we need to see the retail investor comfortable and interested. So let's see if Avantis does offer that opportunity to make everybody comfortable, providing all the documentation, all the details necessary to get fundamentally bullish. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly here on this video. Of course, as I always do, over 130 deep dives that I've released over the last couple of years. You know, I have a few deep dives under my belt, so which means that I can actually compare different projects at a very good rate, you know, looking at all the little details, right? And of course, I'm going to give you guys that summary at the end of this video, where you can see the infographic that I produce for every single one of my deep dives, so you can check out that summary. But in the meantime, guys, I'm going to give you a full-on 1-hour lecture here on what is Avantis and what we could expect from Avantis in the next little while, in the future. All right, so let's begin. Let's scroll through this website. We'll use the website as our main landing page here to kind of navigate. Global markets, limitless leverage, built on and backed by Base. Guys, this is interesting, of course. We know that Base is a narrative in itself that has been picking up a bit of steam. You know, that Base altogether, publicly traded, well established, trusted, very very intertwined in the traditional finance landscape. Compliancy is very important to Base, and then we have Base Chain, which is part of the the blockchain, the crypto, the Web3 concept of things. And as we see projects being built on the Base Chain, what we're seeing is Avantis, a DEX, it seems, that is trying to provide some solutions or some utility here. Trade crypto, forex, metals, commodities, indices, straight from your wallet. Bullish. Interesting. Great utility. And we know that, the true value behind a token or a coin is its utility. What is it used for? What is the purpose of holding it if there's no utility? Can we do something with it? Yes, you can stake it and earn passive income. That's a utility, sure, but is that it? Well, we're going to take a look here what Avantis has to offer. As you can see, we see total tracked volume, different trades, different traders, some data here for us, trading pairs as far as what we expect to see being traded, gold being one of them. As you can see, gold has been a very hot topic. Aerodrome, the main DEX on Base, not a DEX in the sense that it's a perp DEX. It's just a DEX, the main DEX, so very, it's good to see that there. They have a token. Avantis has a token, as we could predict that as a Web3 project, that there is a token fueling universal leverage. The fuel behind Avantis is a token. Is the native utility and governance token of Avantis, Base's largest derivatives exchange. Okay, so that's what it is, a derivatives exchange. So leverage trading and for real world assets and crypto assets. So what we have to understand is, as the tokenization of commodities and stocks. Let me just scroll up here. Metals, commodities, forex, indices, get tokenized. What happens is those real world instruments, financial instruments, get tokenized, and the real world asset narrative obviously gets sparked, right? This is part of the real world asset narrative. I know some of us only think about real world asset as physical assets like real estate. That has been the first narrative of the real world assets, or the first use case. Now we're talking about tokenizing real world assets in terms of financial instruments, right? And this is what we're seeing right now. So, and obviously crypto as well, and various assets, right? It powers protocol incentives, trader rewards, and community-driven development. Users who interacted with the Avantis platform and partner protocols will be eligible for a day one airdrop. Okay, so that's that. One exchange, infinite strategy. So they also provide strategies for trading and different things: metals in crypto, oil in crypto, forex in crypto. So maximize your alpha, pair crypto leverage with uncorrelated real world assets while retaining custody of your collateral, which means that your collateral is in your wallet, right? So you're not putting on a centralized exchange, as we know that this narrative has been a hot one. The perp dex narrative has picked up, very strong, even based on Hyperliquid, right? We see Hyperliquid doing very well. We now Aster is doing very well, and many others have been coming out of the woodworks in the last little while, including Avantis. Every chain is going to have their main competitors like Bluefin and so on for Sui, and this is part of it. You got to choose your team, and understand that there's always going to be that first mover for every chain. There's going to be a first mover for the crypto in general, which I believe is Hyperliquid at this current moment. But ultimately, it is what it is, guys. This is a very hot narrative. Let's continue going on. Scalable leverage for everyone. It looks like a typical exchange. A lot of the key features here, you see the order books, recent trades, and so on. We see your open positions, limit orders, and how to place a trade, shorts and longs, all kinds of stuff. It looks like a DEX. It looks like even a centralized exchange, and that's what you kind of want within a interface. Whether it be a perp DEX or not, you want something familiar. You don't want that friction. You don't want that confusion, which is good, nice and clean there. Loss protection. Trade with confidence. Get up to 20% rebate on your losses when going against popular sentiment. Very interesting. So you got a bit of a cushion there, just in case it goes the opposite direction. You get a 20% rebate when you lose. You get paid to lose, guys. Welcome to crypto. Getting paid to lose. Not bad of a scenario there. Positive slippage. Traders are rewarded with positive slippage, so essentially helping to get a better price. So they help balance open interest, helping them enter trades at prices better than the market price. Okay, so now even helping traders get better entries. That's pretty good. That's a good utility, or a good use case, or value proposition. Optimize liquidity pools. Our dynamic risk engine optimizes LP returns across all market conditions. Okay, our LPs have already earned 1 million in USDC in fees. Okay, built for everyone type of LP, advanced unlocks, a new design, and so on and so forth. Feel free to check that out. Built with Avantis SDK. So part of their ecosystem is that they have a suite of, let's call it, programming tools. Power the platform with Avantis, so you can create your own trading platform here, or any type of platform regarding DeFi. I'm assuming using the SDK, seamless access to real-time price feeds, execute fast trades, and manage positions. Empowered builders and traders for competitive edge. So if you're looking to, build an application that has some trading capabilities per se, they have an SDK ready for you if you're a developer. Pretty good, right? The developer kits are part of the package here. Trusted by the best. We got quick notes of Pantera. We have Pantera, many base. We have Galaxy, Modular Capital. I just want to note that anything that you see with the word capital, these are VCs. Pantera is a VC. Base could be considered a partner, or in such a way, but they're also a VC. They have some funding happening there from Base, which is good, as the main perp DEX at the current moment. which is fine. We have what else do we have? Morpho, guys. You know Morpho, part of the base chain. You guys know I've been bullish on Morpho, the real world asset tokenization of stocks and commodities. They're up in here. Pith. Guys, Pith, the Oracle. Guys, I've been talking about Pith for a good while. I think Pith is so undervalued at the current moment. I'm not trying to say that it's gonna, replace Chainlink, right? But Pith being, one of the main oracles out there that is basically that is permeating this space as an oracle I think it's undervalued. Okay, this is not about Pith, but it is what it is. What else do we have here? A few other little logos here, and they're all fairly valid, guys. They're valid, right? These are not like just copy paste type of logos. Okay, so they have relationships, real relationships, and I'm going to keep it very simple, right? I'm not going to say partners. I know they put partners. They're relationships. This is Alchemy Pay, an on and off ramp up solution. This is something that they use, and it's a relationship, not necessarily a partnership per se. Same with Pith. It's a great relationship, but not necessarily a partnership. All right, let's move on. Loved by the community, of course. You got lots of love by all the communities, even the BTD crypto community. As long as you're cooking, as long as you're doing something, you're gonna get the love. That's for sure. Launch app, foundation, that would be cool to see. I have, I think this one open. Let me just open it up just in case. Token. We can take a look at the foundation. I might have these already open, guys. So I apologize if I have duplicate tabs open at any given point. I'm trying my best to make sure we got all the alpha ready to go. And that's about it, guys. That concludes the website. You can see that it was straight, clean, clear, no ambiguity. We know what it is. Within the first 10 minutes, we understood. No friction there. And the message is clear. Love it. That's exactly what we need. All right, so let's keep on going. What else do we got here? Let's you know what, maybe let's talk about the token. Why not? Let's go with the flow. Well, up here we had some tabs. We got foundation, buybacks, airdrops, staking, build. There's lots of stuff, documentation. I went through all of it as best as I could. I like to keep my deep dives fairly reactive in the sense that I don't know too much. I want to kind of go along with the flow with you guys. So let's see what we got here. AVNT is live. That's the token, the ticker. About Avantis, we kind of get an idea, but you can see with over 48 billion in accumulated trading volume, 85K plus users, backed by Pantera Capital, Founders Fund, and Coinbase. Avantis is building the universal leverage layer for everything. So lots happening. Your total supply is 1 billion. Mint TGE, so when it started in 2023, it's a couple of years out there, but really things pick up usually when we get some trading volume. Sometimes, TGE doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's listing and getting active out there is what's really matters. Trading live, this is what I mean. 2025, this is when it actually went live for trading and providing liquidity to the markets. Core utility. This is an interesting tab. This is what I hunt for. Is Avantis utility token. It is a token, a utility token. Stakers secure liquidity providers during volatility and earn AVNT rewards, XP boost, and trading fee discounts. Look, its utility right now is quite in the works. Let's put it that way, because governance is not quite there just yet. All token holders can vote on key changes to the protocol, expansion to new chains, enhancements, or anything, and to the leverage trading, AMM fees, new asset additions, and so on. So governance will be live soon. It's on its way. So the fact is that, it's promoting governance, but it's not there. But I am happy to see they are telling people that it's not part of the utility yet. Guys, I've seen my fair share of projects, claiming to have governance, and they do not, leaving people in the shade and very unaware and deceived is not a good look. So I'm happy to say that Avantis right now is being very clear about, let me repeat this, they are being very clear about you're buying the token and there's no governance yet. Okay, so just understand that. Don't come back and start saying where's the governance and you this and this and that. Please read, do your research. This is what I do here for you guys. Community rewards, a portion of the AVNT will be set aside for the community of active traders, referrers, LPs, builders, and influencers. A majority, 50% plus of all the AVNT tokens is reserved for the community. I'll admit their tokenomics is very community centric, which is a good thing. But we have to understand is that community centric means is the question starts to come into how and who and when do we see these tokens issue? Like how do they issue? What's the mechanism behind it? Is it is the foundation involved? Is it pure governance? Guys, I would love to see all those community-based tokens to be run through governance. Only proposals, those proposals are the ones that are going to cause those tokens to enter circulation. That for me would be great. Okay, super good, very like DAO organized structure, good stuff there. So let's talk about the tokenomics here. We jumped right into it, guys. I hope you appreciate this, but we're getting right into the tokenomics and all that. I'll do my best to get through all the little details, guys. We'll do it as the website flows. That's the way we'll do it. So we got a couple of things here to discuss. I don't think there's major concerns here. Number one, it's because this is a new project, guys. If you expect tokenomics to be amazing, meaning everything in circulation, you got another thing coming. Okay, we're still in the wild, wild west here. We have to understand that engineers are cooking. And as they're cooking, new projects are coming out. New projects are coming out with new value propositions. It's your job to identify great projects and don't buy the trash. Look for good projects and understand that good projects also are going to have poor tokenomics in the beginning. Why? Because they're still looking for a vesting schedule. And this is something that we have to understand. Whether you like perp narrative or not, whether you like base or not, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we have a perp part of a hot narrative, part of a hot chain that should do well, and ultimately they're new. So their tokens are not going to be issued all at once. They have a team, they have a community, and they have obviously stakeholders that want to make sure that they're getting their fair share of return, right? That's very important. So the airdrop, they 12.5% fully unlocked that TGE. Community got some incentive to get active. This is important because it's good for marketing. It's good for volume and action. And it's also good to test the chain and prove to the market that there's some activity and interest. Okay, so that's great. Then on-chain incentives, 28.6%. Zero at TGE, so meaning when the token launched, none was issued. And then there's a vesting schedule linear over 42 months. So that means over the next 42 months, you're going to see gradual deployment of these tokens. And if you click this down arrow, you'll see a little bit of details there. Fueling future XP seasons. So there's going to be, incentives as different seasons happen. So they're having an issuance seasonally and reserved exclusively for on-chain actions, liquidity trading referrals, community contributions, top voices protocol, and so on and so on. They got lots of different ways that they plan on releasing these tokens to the community. On-chain incentives, that is. The question is, who pushes the button? Who's in charge of pushing the button? Is this going to be a governance thing? Is it going to be like in a multi-sig wallet, and then all of a sudden through governance we can get that happening? Or is it, based on a foundation that is team driven? This is a very important thing because usually when you have young projects like this, community-based tokens are held by the foundation driven by the team. And it could be this could be the case. There's no details about this at the current moment, and it's very hard to get clear answers at this current moment. Okay, especially with the downturn of the market, guys. There's not much action happening in this space, unfortunately. Now it's time to build. We got to get these guys cooking. Builder ecosystem and grants. So another layer of community capital here. Zero TGE unlock, vesting linearly over the next 24 months. So a little bit more aggressive because it's 24 months, not 48 like the previous category. Let me just collapse this so we can keep these things visual. However, it's a lot less. So kind of compensates here. So good. Builders encouraging ecosystem growth. For me, personally speaking, I wish it was the opposite. I wish the 28 was at the ecosystem and giving the builders the grants. Because the reality is people will use the chain if the ecosystem is building. If the ecosystem has utility, people will buy the token and use the chain. Incentivizing people to use the chain usually is temporary because you're basically greasing the wheels without a proper chassis. What's the point of greasing the wheels when there's nothing really happening? Now, because the perp narrative is hot and in itself doesn't really require a huge ecosystem, right? Unless what they're trying to do is grease the wheels for third-party applications using their SDK as developers, then that's fine, because I'm sure they're going to be getting a cut of the fees that are through transactions. I'm sure that's the case, but that's the whole objective, is to transactional volume to bring value to Avantis, right? So in this case, what we're looking at is more ecosystem growth, more community-driven capital and liquidity, okay? Now we step away from that a little bit, right? We have teams and advisors, guys, and investors. That's one category in my book, the way I look at it. We could even go off to even the foundation, right? But I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to leave it at 13.3 plus 26.6. Guys, those two together basically amalgamate to be the first movers, or the early stakeholders of this project. Okay, they're VCs, they're team members, they're people that got in early that want a return on their investment, and you cannot blame them for that. My only issue is that it amalgamates to quite a bit. Okay, we're like talking about 40%, and that's a lot, right? So we're talking about a 12-month cliff. So they're not getting paid until 12 months after TGE, which, guys, it's we're already there, right? Pretty much. And then we have 30 months linear vesting after that, right? For the next 30 months, you're going to see slow and steady release of these tokens to teams, advisors, and investors. The problem is that you have to understand that these individuals have to strategically hold their tokens for a period of time in order to be profitable. And if you look at the Avantis chart, only early stakeholders potentially were able to sell off and take some profit. The reality is, at this current moment, guys, there's not a lot of people in profit anymore, right? Based on the market conditions in total of the total crypto space, not just focusing on Avantis. So at this moment, what we're trying to see here is no more sell pressure on Avantis, and eventually to start seeing these early stakeholders hold steady and maybe reaccumulate their bags, right? It could be very possible that they do, and ultimately hold through for an opportunity for them to look for proper exit liquidity, not just exiting on, TGE, like a lot of VCs and early investors do. They get early allocation and dump on the marketing of their initial drop, unfortunately, usually right after or right around the first airdrop. That's very unfortunate, but it is the case. Okay, so this is where we are right now. Avantis is in such an early stage that the first airdrop was probably, and this obviously downturn in the market was the first major wave of profit taking from early stakeholders. Now we got to see what happens next in this space. Tokenomics right now are under pressure. Total market cap of this space is on a downtrend, okay, especially on the midterm. Liquidity reserve, foundation, as I said. So we got a little bit of foundational, for a little bit of a buffer, and we can read here: strategic treasury to fund long-term product development, operational needs, and future hires. Now I'm curious as to how they're going to keep this fund afloat. What happens when they run out? Do they have a strategy to keep it, earning, so they can keep it, basically well funded? I'm assuming that they also have some capital staked to earning rewards and so on. Liquidity reserves 6%. You can see these are very minor allocations. And then here you got the liquidity required for exchange listings and so on and so forth, and liquidity for the Avantis DEX. Perp DEX. All right, so it is what it is. Once you start looking at this, the reality is it's like a very 50-50 split, to be honest. 50% community, 50% team and early investors. It's normal, guys. It's just usually we like to see a little bit more within the 50-50 to be more skewed towards community. I know that right now it looks very community centric, but it's also very early early stakeholder centric as well. It's a tough call, guys. Like I said, early projects have very poor tokenomics. Why does AVNT exist? So it's the utility and governance. We talked about that. What can I do with AVNT? This is a good one. Stake, earn, reward, participate in growth in the protocol. Just a reminder, governance is not issued just yet. We got to be patient for that one. Staking, again, using it for trading perps and all this kind of stuff. How about audits? So security is a top priority at Avantis. Of course it is. The token has been double audited by top auditors. So they have a partnership. I would say they have a relationship with Zelic. and Halburn, which is the individuals that audited their contract, will be adding the audit reports here soon. Soon, not soon enough. You got to get those out there ASAP, right? Even still, to be honest, a lot of these reports are not even that powerful anymore, because there's so many audits nowadays that are not even that good, and we get still they still get exploited. So we got to understand that having none is actually not good at all. So get those on there, hurry up. Who's eligible for the airdrop? I think it already passed anyways. Will there be more ways to earn? That's the more concern. Keep up with his socials. They'll let you know 100%. So pretty good, guys. At least we know where we're at here. And we'll talk about the vesting and where we're at with the vesting in a second. I'll show you a couple of charts and stuff so that we can get an idea. The foundation in itself, built by traders, governed by believers, powered by the community. So again, the foundation is there, but the foundation at the current moment, in my opinion, seems, based on the fact that there's no governance, it's driven by the team, right? Or some sort of board of directors, or some sort of directors that were probably maybe even voted in by the team, right? And the core team is usually a big driving force of early projects anyway. But this is what we're really looking forward to, is the governance, and this will help that basically create a decentralized autonomous organization out of Avantis. Right now, if there's no governance, the only people that are calling shots is the early stakeholders, including VCs. They have a lot of leverage, guys. We got to be real about that as well. So they're still building, they're still doing their thing, and that's about it. Let's leave it at that for now. Foundation, we talked about that, and this was the tokenomics. So I already had these tabs open. Now, this is some of their documentation. You'll notice that the website plus the two pages that I went through kind of describe a lot of this already. I'm not going to start repeating, but you can see that there are some details here that you might want to read into a little bit more. I like keeping it visual. Obviously, this is a video, so I want to keep the visuals clean. That's why I try to use the website as much as possible for you guys. But you can see that you can use tons of leverage. This is part of their introduction here. Trading able assets, high leverage, up to 500x leverage for degenerates. All kinds of stuff happening there. It talks about the team. We'll talk about the team as well, as best as I can. They're somewhat doxed. They're pretty good. They got a LinkedIn page, which I kind of went on and started to dig a little bit deeper in that, and it gives you a lot of the details of their main value proposition. Loss rebates, which we talked about, that 20%. Positive slippage, we talked about that. Getting better prices for better entries. Real world asset access, again, we talked about that. Forex, commodities, and so on. Zero fees, leverage, very low fees to no fees for leverage, particularly if it depending on your strategy. Advanced risk management, and so on and so forth. So good stuff here. Now, I want to get into, again, the tokenomics are here. This is what we already talked about. You got at your trade, AVNT will be available on different exchanges, is where they are listed, and the liquidity that is provided to those exchanges. The categories which we went through, they have different visuals, and the contract address here, guys. Be safe. Make sure that you're getting to the right contract. Refer it to the official documentation, which is right here. That's that. And then they have the security module, part of their ecosystem. I think they didn't get into much of it on the website, so I figured why not talk about it here just a little bit. The Avantis security module, the SM, is a mechanism designed to protect the protocol LP against major shortfall events. So when the market fluctuates quite a bit, ultimately they have some security module to keep everything in check, so there's no major cascade of liquidation. Avantis token holders can opt in by staking their tokens in the SM. In turn, they earn protocol rewards, XP boosts, and fee discounts, but accept a theoretical risk of slashing if the module is active to cover losses. So this is it. So it's almost like an insurance to a degree. But you still, if it gets into a loss, you're going to get a slashing fee. But generally, at least you don't get massive liquidation. So you can see the fee discounts, the buybacks, and all the little details on how this program works. Guys, go check it out. It is what it is. Okay, so trading overview, they got a lot happening here. I'm not going to get into this. Why? Because this is not what I want this deep dive to be about. This deep dive is about Avantis, not about trading and collateral. These are all things that you got to look into. How things are collateralized using USDCs, transforming finance, very important. The Oracle execution, Pith, guys, like, this is a little bit more in tune with the deep dive. Look at this, Pith right away. I see Pith everywhere, guys. Like, this deep dive is not about Pith, but I have to just say it. A good portion, 90% of my deep dives, I see Pith. So what does that tell you guys? Utility, utility, utility. And I'm not saying that other oracles are not present, because, Chainlink and all these are go-tos. But Pith being everywhere, especially that this is a DeFi project. Yeah, I'm seeing this logo here. It just tells you that the low latency approach that Pith has is ideal for DeFi. So they're taking full advantage of that. And again, some other things: guaranteed SL, stop loss, and TPs. They're guaranteed. Zero fees, perpetuals. This is what we're talking about. The market hours, obviously, 24 hours a day. But since Avantis relies on Pith price oracles, we follow their market hours, which which in turns are the traditional market hours for each class, available the following hours. So it does do that, and so on and so forth. Lots of good little details: the rewards, the revenue, the distribution. As you can see, protocol zero, the treasury gets none. Liquidity providers at the current moment get all the revenue, which is good. And then I wonder, how is the foundation gonna replenish? Maybe later through governance, the governance might say, hey, we need to propose the fact that the fund needs a little bit of money, because the truth is they need some grease to grease the wheels, right? To have no money for marketing or anything is not healthy. Any real investor will say, you know what, let's give the foundation a little bit of grease, and that's where it's like, maybe it's a small percentage of transactions or something like that. So it is what it is. This is good. Periodic revenue distribution, lots of little details, referrals. How do you get rebates based on referrals? Your loss rebates, the mathematical computations, lots and lots of details about all the value propositions that we discussed. As you can see, Morpho, this is one that I wanted to kind of like talk about. So multi-collateral borrowing live on Avantis. So Avantis basically has a great relationship. I would say it's a partnership. Increase your earning potential, maximize your XP, powered by Morpho. So Morpho is currently here providing the opportunity to basically use a Morpho's borrowing APY. And because we know that Morpho provides trading on real world assets, right on the base chain. So this is good to see that collaboration between the two, where you have a perp dex, plus now you also have the real world assets integration via Morpho. So this is actually pretty good. If you're bullish on Morpho, and you're bullish on base, and you're bullish on perp dex, and you're bullish on all these different cross narratives and in supportive narratives, guys, Avantis is a no-brainer, despite the price action, right? You got to really be real about that. Risk management, again, a little bit of there on what's going on there, vault buffer ratio, and so on, a little bit of details there. Now, I want to get into the roadmap here. So I like the fact that they got a full-on roadmap, and the fact that they also have previous milestones that have been achieved. This is important. A lot of the times when I do deep dives, unfortunately, projects don't even provide the roadmap of the future, but they, for sure, in many cases, do not provide historical events. And I'm not saying that it's a necessity, but it's nice to see that they've held themselves accountable, quarterly accountability. And not only that, they've hit milestones. The trend is your friend, right? You think about it. This is data. And based on the data, the historical data, and we can suggest that there's a high probability that they're going to continue hitting their milestones. So what does that mean? Launch ZPF on real-world assets like gold, SPY, QQQ, social wallets with Privy. So with gasless transactions, base app, mini app, gasless, Avantis, gasless transactions. So they're going to have these apps that are going to be gasless. And then they have, a roadmap 2026 and beyond. Now, I would have liked a little bit more detail, right? We're not in 2026 yet. So maybe right when we get there, they might start updating and giving us a quarterly breakdown. And based on the past, we can assume that they will do that. And we have some time for them to do that still. So, you know what? 10 out of 10 for the roadmap and the overall execution of leading investors into the direction that they are going. We're not lost here. We understand where they're putting it. And literally what they're doing is they're stating in black and white. They're holding themselves accountable. And I appreciate that. Not many projects, again, over the 130 deep dives that I've done, there's only a few guys, I would say maybe 10, that actually got into this amount of detail, willing to put their neck on the line. That's a sign of confidence and strength. And not only that, they also have and distinguish. This is the best part because they understand. This is great. This is what shows you that they understand what a true investor is looking for. They're distinguishing the difference between Avantis as a Web 2, let's call it Web 2, and a AVNT as a Web 3. Okay, now they're both Web 2, Web 3. Let's be real, but AVNT is the differentiating factor from a Web 2 project being a Web 3. Why? Because you have a token that drives a decentralized protocol. Right? This is what really changes the game here. And they have a separate roadmap because why do you need a token? That's the question. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening to this deep dive. There's no need to have great tech in a decentralized fashion, but no token. Why? Well, they have a token. And guess what? They have a vision for the token as well. So you can see fee discounts, milestone based buybacks, and so on. And 2026, they have a little bit of details here as well. Our goal is to continue expanding the utility and value occurred on AVNT. We'll be using community feedback. Again, the governance will provide a little bit of that feedback, concrete feedback, putting their money where their mouth is. If they want action, they'll put it where it belongs. And I can't wait to see governance happening here. So that's that. So good stuff from a roadmap perspective. So technically, they have two roadmaps and defining the true nature of a Web3 application, both tech stack, vision, where they're going with the tech, and also where they're going with the token. That's amazing. Good stuff there. Avantis SDK, not going to spend too much time here, but if you're a dev looking to create applications and want to use their engine, they provide a development kit ready to go for that use case. Okay, that's about it. We got security, the different audits, which we talked about already. They have their PDFs here, so they didn't have it on their website, but if you look at the documentation, they got the reports right here and deployed this and this and that. They got some good stuff, different tutorials, and their brand kit if you want to get access to their logos and so on and so forth. So good stuff here. One of the better documentations that I've seen throughout my deep dive career. Let's put it that way. So good stuff. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of their socials. So we got a really good idea of what they're all about. Now let's see what they're yapping about. We got Avantis, the universal leverage layer for everything. Trade crypto, real world assets with up to 500x leverage and 0 fees. Guys, that sounds interesting to me. Backed by Base and Pantera Capital. A bit of a name drop right there. That's very bullish. Of course, let's make sure we're following. Yes, we are. And let's quickly go down. Avantis is now live on Robinhood. Okay, we know that Robinhood is clearly transitioning into offering crypto-based assets on their platform. So that's good. They're excited. We're excited. That's good. That's one of the big retail outlets for trading at this current moment, Robinhood. So that's good. Avantis 90% soon. Trademark trade perps with Avantis. That's great. They're gonna have their app. Monster macro week. So a little bit of an update of what's happening in the macro. So they're keeping up with the community, not just about themselves, but what's happening with the crypto space in general. And this was November 17th. They're getting good engagement, guys. This is what I like. And I just want to quickly touch upon how many followers they have. They only have 106,000 followers, and they got some decent engagement here. 300 likes. They got 200 likes, 140 here. What are they yapping about here? Another packed week with celebratory milestones, new markets, and new conversations. That's true. They're always listing new tokens, and we'll see that in a second. Closer look at how automation powers seamless high-performance execution behind the scenes. And you see a lot gelato a network. On-chain gas remains the bottleneck between traders and markets. So they're very active here, guys, on socials. Some posts get more action than others. No doubt, that's typical. But generally speaking, to see them here doing their thing, look, new listing, Hood, right? So we're on a mission to bring global markets on chain. Now trade Hood on Avantis, so they're listing new tokens. That's Hood. And then here you have Zcash and Monero, one of the most talked about privacy projects in the last little while with 10x leverage. So lots of stuff happening here. Talks, with the community, being active, and so on, so forth. guys, do your research. Okay, it is what it is. And they have the buyback dashboard coming out live, as you can see, is now live November 4th. In accordance with our previously released articles, stakeholders can now view our targeted milestones for initiating buyback. So they want to potentially buy back and then potentially burn. That would be a great scenario there. All right, so let's take a look at some of the relationships here. The Morpho Labs one is probably the one that most of us that are looking into base and this whole perp narrative, the perp decks, and not only that, the real world assets are probably saying, well, that's a pretty good one. Borrow USDC using your CBBTC on base at just 3.5% a year. So basically what you're seeing here is Morpho totally integrated within its ecosystem. Guys, that's bullish. Okay, very, very bullish. That's great for those of you that are bullish on Morpho and the real world assets. And then you see everything to do, guides are visioned becoming the largest DEX. They obviously want to be the largest DEX out there, and that's very bullish, of course. You know, they have a few guides there, but Key Rock Trading, an institutional market maker, is definitely, part of the team right now. So that's something bullish. We also always need some very strong market making. It's healthy to keep the price in check and so on, so we don't get those crazy volatile swings. And then right here, we got the Chaos Labs to enhance our economic security and optimize risk management for LP and traders, integrating Chaos Labs within their liquidity pools. That's, again, more bullishness. And there's a lot more, guys. I'm just showing a couple that I was able to stumble upon. There's lots of them. Right, so we got Zokyo, trusted by SushiSwap, Solana Foundation, 1inch and more, security partnership, which is, again, what we need in this space. And I'm going to keep on going. One more. Let's get one more. Oh, this is the same one. But there's a lot more, guys, that definitely, because, we ultimately want to see them active as much as possible, right? They have the roadmap that is really, really hot, launching the ZFP and the social wallets and with Privy and base mini apps and different things. These things are going to create more opportunities for more relationships. And these relationships can turn into very strategic partnerships. And for me, that's where you start to increase the ecosystem. And the ecosystem growing suggests that there's more utility for the token. Guys, it's a chain. It's a cycle, right? And this cycle and this whole flywheel type of scenario definitely provides more value for the token, the AVNT token. Of course, Avantis in itself is building and cooking, so very good. Now let's kind of see what's going on here with the team. But before we do that, I just want to quickly look at their vesting schedule, and then we'll talk about the team in a second. Okay, so while we're here, because Crypto Rank does a good job providing a lot of these details. Let's see what we got. You're not signed up. I'm already signed up. Let's continue with Google. I apologize, guys, for all of this. Let's see. Let's sign in here if we can. Continue. Alrighty there. So what we do is right here we got unlocking AVNT tokens, total distribution, all this kind of stuff. What we see here is that the majority of the tokens are not in release. They're not in release. So which means that we have the sell pressure. We have the risk of dilution. And that risk of dilution should keep you, a little bit on your toes. However, risk of dilution only happens when there's a downtrend, right? And we have been on the downtrend, and you can see that people have been selling, or else the price wouldn't have been falling in the last little while. But it's exclusive to Avantis, right? AVNT in itself, generally speaking, has been falling, but so has Bitcoin and Ethereum and many other projects. The difference is that this is new and speculative, and its tokenomics don't have that depth of liquidity that we see in other projects. In fact, because it's new, it has very little depth, and there's a lot of imbalance, right? So that means that when the order books and everything is so thin, you get that crazy volatility. And this is what we're seeing right now. However, guys, the risk of dilution, or that pressure, is based on the fact that, we got a lot of dilution here, but then we slow down by having this period right into here where we only have on-chain incentives, builders and ecosystem, and foundation. Foundation is only 4%, so it's minimal. These guys right here is 9%, so it's still kind of minimal. But then right here we have the on-chain incentives, which is completely community-based or community-driven. So the truth is that the majority of the liquidity entering the market is still community-based, But what about these guys? Airdrop 1, most likely sold off. Vested at TGE, liquidity reserve, they already got it. So I don't think they were selling off here. And builders and ecosystem. What I like to say is that the majority that I say are called early stakeholders did not get their tokens yet. As you can see, they didn't even reach cliff, which means that as soon as they reach this level, they're going to start getting into a linear state of of deployment where they're going to start getting their tokens. And by here, I'm going to say that the likelihood of these individuals wanting to sell is very low. Why? Look at the price. Look at the price, guys. The price of right now AVNT is not very good, in the sense is for their incentive to sell, depending on their entry and their agreement of entry price, will suggest that the likelihood that they're holding and not selling, because if not, they're selling the bottom. So I would like to see what happens in the next little while. And then the incentive of these early investors, talking about Pantera and Base and all these, and the team and the advisors, the incentive is to pump their own bags to make sure that they can find exit liquidity at higher levels. And the only way to do that is to pick up the bids, to get bids going, to provide some alpha, to get people interested. And if we start recovering in the next 6 months, because it could take up to 6 months to see this market recover, guys, I have a thesis that I'm working on in the last little while, in the last few days. I'm going to be sharing that with you guys on the live streams. Of course, I'm live almost every single night. Feel free to join. But right now, what we have to do is worry about projects like Avantis, because they're new and they're slowly emitting tokens based on their emissions. But there's going to be a point where there's no more selling because we hit a floor price. And my opinion is that in the next little while, we are going to be building a floor price that might take longer than expected, whereas these early investors are not going to want to sell, in my opinion. Again, I'm not giving you financial advice. None of this is financial advice. In fact, what we're doing is talking about fundamentals. Okay, so let's move on here. Let's take a look at what's going on with the team. The team, this is what they got listed. Okay, so as you can see, semi-doxed, doxed, not so doxed, whatever you want to call it. They do have a LinkedIn, so that makes them doxed. No image. Is that necessary? Not really. You get my point, guys. We don't need to know their whole private life, but it is helpful to get an idea of where the team is coming from. This is a small team, only 15 members so far here on LinkedIn. If their intention was to make us bullish here, they would have made us bullish by providing a little bit more. As you can see, this team, Lumina Labs, is the one building Avantis. Right, so this is where they separate themselves from a development team with Lumina Labs and what they're building, which is Avantis, separating themselves. Very interesting. This is a strategy that I've seen quite a bit. Is it a sign of insecurity? Is it a sign, or is this a strategy how to keep liabilities in check? I'm not sure. You call the shots there. But the reality is they have a development team that's a different identity from the actual project itself. 15 members, United States, India, New York. You can see different locations. That's fine. And then we have the founder of Lumina Labs, Mr. Singh. And then we have a couple others here, core contributors and so on. Some talent here, X Barkley, Bank, Bombay, Design, Avantis, and Coinbase, Head of Engineering at Avantis, Chief Tech Officer at Avantis, Brank. I have a bit of information there about him, and so on and so forth. So a team that is young, as you can see, very, very young. No real, the track record is still being worked on. So young teams are very ambitious. Why? Is because they're starting from the ground, and those individuals obviously are the ones hustling to make a career for themselves, and I appreciate that. Youth, usually the new teams, I'm not talking about age, youth in the team, meaning a young team, means that they really want to make some changes so they can change, to improve their career. So for me, that's important. They got a lot to gain here. So let's talk about this dude for a second. Mr. Singh Luminala, he's the founder behind the lab, behind the organization. As you can see, investor in Pantera Capital. He's an investor, so blockchain investing, early stage venture and research. So he has a connection there with Pantera Capital full time for about a year and a half or so, which is good. Focused on DeFi and consumer infrastructure. A lot happening there, of course. That's a big mouthful. investing out of Pantera's multi-stage blockchain fund, game and economy of Illuvium. That's a big project that, if you're into gaming, you knew that was a buzzing project for a good while. And then as you go down, you can see University of California, Berkeley, business, business, business. So his background seems to be business, not necessarily technology, but it seems like he slowly got into, from this technology and the investing type of thing, he slowly got into the tech field within, the finance aspect or the investing aspect of this space, which is fine, which is great. Now, if we move on forward, we also have this dude, Brank. He's the CTO. He's the, in my opinion, it seems like he's the engineer behind things. Build full stack software that handle hundreds and thousands of users and trading software for billions, which is what we need here, because exactly Avantis full time and prototype engineer for different projects here, and full stack here and there. And then you have University of Waterloo, which is a well-known university for software and engineering in general, and so on. So pretty good. Yeah, you got some good, but not fully doxed here. Some information, and that's pretty much what we got. Okay, so is it a good thing that we don't have much information? Is it a good thing? It's up to you guys. Ultimately, I like to see well documented teams. The fact that it's being backed by Base is a good thing as well. Obviously, Base in itself wants a good reputation, being publicly traded and such. So these are critical decisions. Young teams have a lot to offer, but of course they're very speculative. It is what it is, guys. So, guys, generally speaking, Avantis sounds like an interesting opportunity, but we have to really summarize all of this and be very clear about what we're getting into. Right now, it's time to put your big boy pants on, because the market is giving us tons of opportunity, and for the most part, a lot of us don't know what to be doing next. Guys, I'm going to be releasing this infographic all over the socials, right? You're going to be able to get this overall package summary about Avantis. Let me quickly summarize for you guys right now. Ecosystem, I like what they got going on here. Wow. So as far as its ecosystem, it's got some good implementation so far. LP Vault security module, as we discussed on the documentation, on-chain synthetics trading of real-world assets, plus crypto assets, and the SDK. So their ecosystem is good. We're just waiting for the governance part of things that will complete its ecosystem. This is the reason why I feel there's a little bit of area of improvement there. But other than that, guys, its ecosystem is well on its way for maturity. Utility, staking, rebates, and loyalty rewards. Now, as far as its utility, again, it goes back to governance. We're waiting on that. That's a big part of its current utility. And even still, I would like to see its utility integrated in such a way that it will create a bit of revenue for the foundation. I believe that's very, very important. Right now, it has a 4% allocation. How does the foundation replenish that pool of liquidity? Because ultimately, the foundation is going to need a bit of grease to continue running Avantis, to higher levels. So this is where I feel like the utility is still being worked on. You may see that 3 out of 10 is a negative score, not a good score. But that means that there's a lot of area of improvement, which means when such an early project, there's still a lot to look forward to it. And obviously, to look forward to it means that there's upside potential. So as soon as we start to see more use case for the token, the better it is for Avantis, and the better it is for an individual to want to hold the token itself. So I think this is in a good spot, because in my opinion, once we start to see this thing 10 out of 10 out of utility, I think it would have reached a level of maturity, right? So this is where you want to get in speculation phases. This is where you're thinking, where is it going to go? Well, it's going to be going where the utility improves. That's basically what I'm saying here. And their roadmap, because their roadmap is so clear and transparent, it actually gives you that sense of confidence that eventually, yes, the utility will be there. Transparent roadmap, historical milestones meant. Remember, the trend is your friend. Future is well defined, which is, again, something that we want to see. Where are we going with things, right? So all of this right now provides a lot of clarity as far as what our expectations. Team, former Pantera Capital investment analyst, background in building scalable trading systems, fully doxed team. Again, fully doxed because they're there on LinkedIn. but I would like to know a little bit more small and young. So again, because of that, we got to put it into context. They're not an all-star team in the sense that they have been working, in big projects in the past. Pantera is big. Obviously, we know that from a financial, from a business perspective. Of course, it's good, and the engineers could be amazing engineers, but we're still speculating. Why? Because they don't have much of a track record within Web3 per se. Okay, so this is where we're at right now, and their team is small and young. So speculation, but based on speculation, guys, it's not bad. You have to understand that they're backed by base, and again, that's a big deal. Um, Social, 6 out of 10. The only reason why there is that they have 106,000 followers on X. It's good, but it's not good. But their engagement is decent, which I like. Okay, Discord is active, but no Telegram, which means that they're willing to kind of tone down the degeneracy. Telegram is very degenerate, which for the most part is fun. It's great. It's a great place to communicate and get active, have some fun with the communities, and so on and so forth. But the truth is that Discord is a little bit more valid in the sense that you can build a very stable communities and higher quality communities. Okay, so this is important. No blog or related outlets of such, which might be useful, guys. Educating people about DeFi, what perp DEX is, what real world assets is. It helps websites rank. It helps people get informed. It shows commitment to education, and I kind of like that. You guys know here at BTD Crypto, we focus on helping the market learn how to fish rather than teaching it, rather than giving them the fish. And I feel like that mindset builds high quality community. And for me, that would be quite interesting to see if they had a blog, a Medium page, or a custom blog, or whatever the case is, to kind of get that going. I'm sure they have some sort of documentation, but to put a bit more effort there would be really good for their social perspective. But with 106K followers, they're doing pretty good. Okay, so not too bad. Tokenomics. It's a tough topic because 50% airdrop is basically for the community in general. Airdrop, community, and builder incentive. That's generally speaking community, right? So 50% out to the community. The rest of it is pretty much vested and in cliffs and are basically for early stakeholders. The tokenomics are very 50-50 split, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you got to understand 50% go to the early stakeholders. So it's about two teams. It's about the team and the early stakeholders and the community and the people using, the people investing, the retail. And I don't really like that. I really don't like when I see a 50-50 split like that. I would say that the best way to make people feel comfortable is to give the community the edge, because they're the ones that are going to drive the actual project to higher levels, right? There's no incentive for the team to hold 50% of the tokens if the other 50% are not happy, because without network adoption or mass adoption or that network effect, it's going to be very difficult, right? So this is a bit of a problem in my opinion, because the painting that is being painted, the picture that is being painted is a 50-50 split pretty much. So that keeps a lot of people on the fence. Liquidity reserved and airdrop for fully unlocked. Both liquidity reserve and airdrop is fully unlocked, which is good, but they represent a very small portion of the tokenomics. Okay, so that's that. Relationships, they got some good relationships, with the seed round and with Pantera Capital. That's big. Obviously, you guys know Pantera is a big part of the space. Morpho integration is great with collateral, base ecosystem fund support. This is good, and there's much more. There's much more. I'm not even gonna say that I've covered them all here. Guys, do that research. I'm just telling you they're well connected. The relationships are well established, and because of that, it's 10 out of 10. And exchanges as well, guys. I'm not gonna list them all. They're listed everywhere. Major ones: Coinbase, KuCoin, Maxi, and of course BitNex. Guys, if you want to know more about BitNex, I got links in the description. They're offering great trading bonuses for all traders looking for a bit of free capital to trade with to begin their trading journey. So go check it out. But nonetheless, guys, they're listed everywhere. Unfortunately, you're not going to get that edge if you're looking for exchange listings. Okay, but to know that the liquidity is there, maybe not right now, because again, the market's been a bit tough. But generally speaking, guys, Avantis is in a good spot. Let's take a look at the general, tokenomics, guys. I'm just gonna apologize for now that some of these details might be a little bit different. From the moment that I did created this infographic to the moment that the market keeps on being volatile, the numbers do change. So it is what it is. It's around 40 cents. Market cap is still 100 million, very small. Volume, great trading volume, lots of trading volume. And and that's good to see 60% trading volume versus its market cap. That's a lot. But we know that this is quite typical, especially with a perp dex and especially with a new project with thin liquidity and so on. So volume can be very much there. Supply, it is what it is. 25%, 26% are already in circulation. We already talked about that. Could be a risk of dilution as more enters in circulation. Why? Because there's a billion in max supply. That's quite a bit. So about 75% still needs to be issued, and a 400 million fully diluted valuation. Guys, in my opinion, that's still undervalued. Okay, that's still little. That's not a lot. We got to be real about that. If this perp dex is going to be the main dex for base, guys, you got another thing coming, right? This is going to be bigger than, it's going to be valued much more than this, in my opinion. Just got to wait for the dilution. You got to wait for the tokenomics to be at par. And if you wait for all of that, guys, it might be at a way higher price, and that's the way it is. If you're waiting for maturity, you're gonna buying into speculation. No risk, no very little reward. That's how it works here in this space. Okay, so consider this an opportunity, I guess, to speculate. So let's do a bit of a verdict here. We got DeFi, we got the DEX narrative, we got the perp DEX narrative, we got base narrative, we got lots of narratives, and they're all bullish, right? So just, we got to understand that price right now is telling us a different message. So 75% of the unlocks over the next 2.5 to 3.5 years. This is the dilution that I'm talking about. It introduces potential inflation, okay, and self-pressure. This is what we have to accept and digest. Now, if you're going to turn around and say, yes, Mike, you're right, but this project is so bullish and part of so many great fundamentals and narratives, the reality is, I believe that demand is going to outperform the supply. Then you know what? You're in a good spot. Start DCAing. That's plain and simple, right? It's about what value does it bring to the space as a software solution, and is that value going to entice individuals to accumulate? If you believe that that's true, that the demand will outperform supply, start DCAing. Depending on market conditions, usage, and reward strategy, obviously that's gonna, depending on what happens in the market, a lot of the tokenomics gets, and especially the way they issue some of those funds, might fluctuate. Governance to be announced. There's nothing really there right now. They're waiting for that to happen soon, coming soon. Many strong relationships, guys. Too many to really list. I gave 10 out of 10. You do your own research there, guys. I've seen many good relationships. Again, there may not all be strategic partnerships, but the fact is that being a part of the base chain and being part of base in general is going to open a lot of doors, and Pantera definitely as well. So these are good things. Loss rebates, part of their ecosystem, a system that provides traders with partial rebate on their trading losses, and positive slippage. These are things, the points of differentiation in comparison to other dexes, perp dexes. Okay, so I try to focus on their main points of differentiation. And in certain market conditions, traders may receive a better entry price than the current price, the current market price, which obviously is something that we don't really see very often, is where an exchange wants to help traders avoid the negative impacts on slippage. Okay, so this is good. These are good value propositions, right? So I started to reflect on AVNT, Hyperliquid, and the whole Aster thing, and the whole, the reality is that I try to be modest. Let's say AVNT can keep up with Aster, assuming that BNB chain and Coinbase, or base chain, sorry, as equal competitors. I know they're different in many ways, because Base is an L2 on Ethereum and BNB is its own chain, and we get it. But at the end of the day, both ecosystems have their dexes, their perp dexes. In this case, we have Aster for BNB chain, and we have AVNT here. Currently, we're talking about, and it's on the base chain. So if we're going to compare those two, we're going to say, well, if AVNT can at least catch up to Aster at its current price, more or less, again, considering fluctuations, it could do about 22 to 23x. Why not? Right? And make AVNT a direct competitor to Aster, and reaching about $9. Guys, Again, this is not a prediction. I just want to make sure and be fully transparent. I'm not predicting. I do not have a crystal ball. I can't tell you the future. I don't know where this is going to go. But what I can tell you this is, if the total market cap recuperates and we see that the crypto space in general, the total market cap goes back to about $4 trillion, because right now we lost slightly over $1 trillion in value, which is significant, guys. And we are on a downtrend. So it's hard for me to be bullish here, but we have to be real. If eventually that capital comes back into the space and we find entries at these levels and we can see AVNT catch up, and forget about increasing, forget about, price discovery, bull market, just catching up with Aster, modestly speaking, there's no reason why AVNT can't capture its fair share of the market cap, of the total market cap, and reach a projection of about $10. Yes, that would be a 23x, but this is what happens when you're in a $100 million market cap project with behind a big chain, and not only that, with lots of upside potential, given that the narrative and its competitors have done the same numbers. So it's hard to be bullish, I get it, but I'm trying to keep it relative to what the competition is doing and what the competition has done. Now what we need to see is this market attract its liquidity back and then some, and then these targets are going to be easy targets to achieve. Again, guys, this is not I'm not telling the future. I don't know the future. This is a price projection based on what the market can do, based on us getting back to our regular trend, which is up to the right. We've always seen crypto eventually recuperate from downtrends and go up and to the right, right? So this is where we're at right now. Your convictions are important. We're on a downtrend in the midterm. Are you accumulating? Are you buying in anticipation that a lot of these projects, even Aster, we got to be honest, even Aster will go up in price. So then AVNT is going to shift up, trying to catch up to Aster, and they'll kind of keep on battling and attracting liquidity. Guys, this is the way it is. This is a price projection. I give this project 8 out of 10 because it has a lot of potential there. We just got to keep up with what's happening in the next little while with regards to updates and so on, because AVNT being part of Base and all the other competition amongst all the other chains providing perp dexes could be the opportunity. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the AVNT chart, because ultimately, guys, we want to see what's going on. Ultimately, do we get some pumps? Do we get any dumps? Let's see what's going on with the AVNT chart. As you can see, we're on a downtrend still, guys. We moved up and then we came right back down and then some, falling into the abyss of price action. Do we get some support, guys? Do we get a reversal? Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, guys, you know that I'm a bull through and through. You guys know that. If you've been following the last little while, the trend, in this space has suggested that being a bull always pays, right? It pays, right? Because we've seen what the prices do over time. In the midterms, in the short terms, things are volatile. And even if you pepper in this whole concept of new projects entering the space with rough tokenomics, AVNT comes, to mind. And as you can see, the sell-off came in hard. This is where we got the pump. We went long here on the channel. You guys know I was on the Discord going long. We killed it all the way up. And guess what? I killed it all the way down. Once we got to this level, it's like, okay, the trade went well. I'm exiting my shorts. I should have kept those open. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20. But I always said to myself, you know what? I don't want to be greedy. I want to make sure that we do the right thing. And at this level, I bought a little bit of a bag, right? And then down here, we come down. Where was the support? I bought a little bit right here. And then we started going up. And now we're coming down and breaking down even below this level. And we keep on falling. And for me, it's about passive accumulation. I'm going to tell you one thing, guys, real quick. At this moment where we are in this market, forgetting AVNT for a second, putting that on pause, the smartest thing to do at this current moment is to brainlessly DCA. And because you're going to be doing it brainlessly, it's important that you include or you use the capital that you're willing to lose. Make it small, make it consistent, and pick 5 projects maximum that you're bullish in and slowly pepper in capital. AVNT might be one of those. It may be. Again, fundamentals matter. Go check make sure that you study the fundamentals that I presented to you today. But ultimately, guys, this thing is on a downtrend on the daily with no sign of a bounce yet. You got to be very careful. You got to be real with what the price action is showing you. This thing can keep on falling, right? And it's at $100 million market cap. There's no volume below, very low liquidity. That wick on October 10th caused a lot of pain. But if it's going to fill that wick, guys, we're coming down to 18 cents. Who knows how low we go? I'm not going to even pretend to tell you where I think it's going to go because nobody knows where we're going here, right? This is the abyss, as you can see. Now we could drop to 4 hours. We can drop to lower time frames. Let me get my indicators going, guys. At the end of the day, if you want to know more about the Synergy Signal suite of indicators, check out the links in the description below. Custom indicators that are navigating this space with high precision for me in the community. So go check it out. I just want to quickly, let's expand this. I don't know why it's so compact like that. But regardless, you can see the indecision right around these levels. You can see that the downtrend is still there. You can see that the expansion is very, very matured, almost, in a state of oversold. You can see that momentum is not even oversold. So there's a little bit of worry here that the purple line, which is the momentum line, continues to fall and the expansion continues to keep on coming down and mature into this zone. Volatility, Uno reversed right around here and said, I'm not ready to go bullish. Let me come back down. And everything looks slumpy here. Everything looks slumpy. Could we go lower? 100%. So this is my problem. Although the fundamentals might be looking good, price action suggests that we're not done. We're not done dipping. So we really got to, take it easy. Let's go down to the lower time frames. Let me get some of these extra indicators out of the way, because of course I love me a lot of indicators. That was just sessions indicator. But as you can see, falling down to lower levels suggests that we could potentially be looking for a bottom. This rejection right here was pretty bad. You got to admit, that was the breakdown zone right around here. Okay. Then we came up and we keep on moving in a downtrend. We need to get back above 46 cents. And in fact, I would be a little bit more aggressive about that. If we can get a back above 55 cents, that's a little bit better. But let's say something like this happens. Let's say this was the recovery, this was the passive accumulation phase. We move back up, we get back into this level, we close the daily candle right here, we back test confirm, and then we start moving right through this imbalance right here. That could be the beginning of a reversal. This is where we are right now. Reversals could be imminent, but we're not getting any indication of them yet. Okay, now let's talk about that for a second. Downtrend, divergence, not really. Let's be real about that. There's convergence. Momentum is on a downtrend still, even though price is on a downtrend. That's convergence, guys. When they're both going in the same direction, momentum and trend. Downtrend, lower lows, lower highs, right into here. Then we got a bounce here. This is not divergence, right? That's a problem. Neither is this, right? There's no real divergence here. Lower lows, and there's a bit of divergence right here, but we're waiting for follow through. So what we need is a bit of an indication of follow through. If we can come down for a lower low, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but it's the reality. But momentum gives us a higher low, guys, divergence, follow through, momentum shift, everything gets bullish. But at this case, as the price action and momentum and every indicator continues making lower lows and lower highs, despite a little bit of relief. I know we can get excited and celebrate all the little pumps. And I totally encourage that you find some green and celebrate those greens. But as long as we are making lower lows and lower highs, guys, there's nothing really to celebrate in the long term. We need to see a real trend reversal. Yes, we're getting a bit of confluence for a bounce, like we've got one right here. Look what happened. Bang. We got one right here. Look what happened. Bang. Like, we get divergences. Look, this indicator's killing. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that if you're looking for a bigger time frame reversal, it's not here yet. So we have to be careful. Brainless DCA. That's what you got to do. If it's $100 a month, it's $100 a month. If it's $100 a week, $100 a day, $100 a minute. It's up to you. It could be whatever price, whatever it is that you think that is valid. Find project that you like. Find 5 projects that you like, that you think have good fundamentals, and pepper in that capital. Slow and steady. Weekly, daily, monthly, whatever it is. Obviously, monthly might be a bit hectic. Why? Because I don't think we're going to be hanging around for a long time, but it could be. I'm thinking maybe we could go sideways for up to 6 months here, guys, if this is going to be a bear market. And I'm going to talk about this bear market thesis on my live streams tonight and in the next couple of days. So feel free to join me there. But ultimately, guys, there's nothing here on the chart just yet for me to get totally aggressive unless we get a complete recovery and we start cranking to the upside tomorrow. Things can pivot real quick in this space. Just keep it in mind. But as of now, take it easy, guys. Take it easy because you don't want to be exit liquidity and you don't want to get wrecked because you want to have that capital for when it matters most, when you need the capital most. Guys, if I've offered you any value here in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.